The great and powerful Tim Wise descended from Mount Grievance the other day to let people on one of my different platforms know that Colin Flaherty is a very bad person, a fraud. He's making up all these stories. If you don't know who Tim Wise is America's favorite white guy. He's the guy, if you can't get D.L. Hughley or Jussie Smollett to whip up some fairy tale of of white racism and black victimization, call on Tim Wise. He'll take a stop off from his college lecture tour, his high school lecture tour, one of his book tours. He'll come in and he'll fill in. He'll tell you that white people really, really, really suck because they're always messing with black people for no reason whatsoever. Anyway, so Tim came after me the other night, said the same thing. My books suck. I suck. And by the way, he's so damn busy. He's so important. He really doesn't have time to explain it to you guys. But could we just take his word for it? So we put the challenge out to Tim. Say, show me something in my books and my videos that's not true. Show me. And we'll bet on it. How's that sound, Tim? Day 2, waiting for a reply from the mysterious Mr. Wise. But in the meantime, why don't we do this? Why don't we just show Tim just a little bit? Normally lately I've been breaking these videos up into smaller videos, but why don't we just show him stuff that I get in my email every day? So there'll be stuff about murders, assaults, black on senior violence, and finally at the end, there's going to be a story about the DA in Philadelphia who basically is on a one-man legal crime spree to let black people out of jail, to undercharge black people, and there's a really good example. The U.S. attorney's calling him out on it. Gosh, we need more of that. So let's just get rolling. Come on, Tim, show me where white people are doing this too.
Here's my life. Please help find who did this.
A desperate plea from a heartbroken mother.
I'm not the same. I don't know how to go on without my baby. He's been my life.
On Wednesday, Amy Workman went to the grocery store, stopping by her son's apartment to cook for him. Hours later,
Code 1, gunshot wound.
Her life changed forever.
I don't even remember driving over there.
Her 17-year-old son, Ben, murdered, shot and killed in the apartment he had just moved into a couple weeks ago.
I lost my life yesterday, I feel like. He was my beautiful boy and someone took him away from me. He was everything to me.
Ben was living with his girlfriend, finishing school at an off-campus learning program so he could also work. Police say on Wednesday, neighbors reported a disturbance and saw 2 men running down the stairs.
The suspect is not unseen.
Police were guarding the Lower East Side building where an elderly tenant was tortured and robbed midday Wednesday by a man identified by police as seen in this video in a telltale 2-tone jacket with stars on it. Underneath it is believed to be some kind of uniform used by the man to pose as someone you'd allow in the door.
Caught on camera in the district, cowards robbing an 81-year-old disabled man at gunpoint in Northeast. The man is blind. He is also a double amputee. The gunman also robbed his caretaker and cab driver before they took off running.
Oh yeah, here's a picture of the 19-year-old fella who assaulted an 81-year-old white guy outside of a grocery store because this 19-year-old fella did not approve of the white guy's clothing style, which of course included a Make America Great Again hat.
Bullets flying inside a D.C. club. Watch here. You can see the flashes right there on this surveillance camera as people run for safety. Stephen Sheeta covering D Street along H Street Northeast as police search for that man pulling the trigger.
Surveillance cameras caught the whole thing go down. First, a dispute between 2 people. One pulls out a gun, waves it around, then the bullets fly. You see flash after flash. Another suspect assaults the man who just got shot. Then a third suspect gathers up the gun, and all 3 take off.
Oh, wow. Wow, I did not know that.
Malcolm Stewart has lived in this neighborhood for decades. He owns the hair salon next door.
I've seen this neighborhood change so drastically over the last decade that something like that wasn't even happening 35 years ago.
The man who was shot rushed to a hospital treated for life-threatening injuries. He still is hanging on as the search for the 3 suspects continues. Meanwhile, some of those who frequent the bars, restaurants, and shops along H Street are worried.
That's horrible. You can't even go into a restaurant and all this shooting going on.
Cecilia Sanchez in tears talking about her husband who was shot in the neck during a dinner run at this McDonald's on Get Well. She doesn't speak much English, so her oldest daughter translated.
They shot him in the neck and it came out of his mouth.
Police say Carlos Sanchez and another daughter were driving off the McDonald's lot around 7 p.m. Friday when 3 males approached their vehicle and demanded money. Carlos says when he refused, they shot him. This weekend, police released these pictures of the suspects captured by cameras inside the restaurant.
A fight outside Northeast Philadelphia High School captured the attention of Philadelphia police, not just because it involved a group of students, but an adult also showed up and pulled out what appeared to be a gun in the middle of it. Action News reporter Gray Hall has more.
This fight Tuesday outside of Northeast High School was captured on cell phone video. It appeared to be between students, but just seconds into the video, an unidentified adult is seen getting involved and pulling out what appears to be a gun and yelling at the students. The group scatters and that video ends. Students say it's disturbing to watch and they immediately thought about their safety.
They were scared, like he put out a gun. They thought that he was going to shoot it.
It could have been one of us. And plus, I'm like in the trailers outside, and that's like not close to the school, and like the doors are locked, so like we have no chance of like escape.
We showed parents the altercation, and many say their hearts were pounding watching the violence. They were even more shocked to see an adult getting involved and flashing a weapon. Some didn't want to be identified, but they were willing to talk.
Any one of them could have gotten hurt, then it would have been a tragedy, then it would have been a whole other situation, and then, Lord forbid, something would have happened to one of those kids, and then, you know, another parent loses a child.
An incredible case of road rage ends with an entire family getting shot at.
It happened during morning rush hour in Brookhaven. Fox 5's Denise Dillon is live at the intersection of the shooting tonight. And Denise, how is that family?
Well, the parents are shaken up. The kids, well, they are terrified. One of the bullets went right through the vehicle, just missed a 3-year-old's head, and went through the shirt of a 6-year-old.
Looked like a 9mm pistol, gray on top, black on bottom.
Chantel Queen says she doesn't know much about guns, but will likely never forget the image of the weapon that was pulled on her family. Queen was in her Nissan Pathfinder with her husband, 3 children, and a family friend. Her husband, Matt, was behind the wheel. The children were buckled up in the back.
My son was sitting right here.
Brookhaven police say the family was driving near the intersection of North Druid Hills and East Roxborough around 9:30 Thursday morning. Matt told police he was cut off by the driver of another car, NYCHA Jones. Queen told police he got out of his car to talk to Jones. That's when she pulled out a gun and started firing.
And we began with a young mother's fight to survive. She was alone, waiting for an Uber when police say a man in these surveillance pictures grabbed her.
Well, tonight we know that he is a convicted criminal fresh out of prison, and she's sharing her story only with Channel 9.
I ended up face down. So, like, if he wanted to, he could have, like, you know, decapitated me.
And finally tonight, take a good look at this guy. The NYPD says he used a metal barrier as a weapon in a bizarre game of tag last month in Manhattan. He took a barricade on Bleecker Street, hit a 26-year-old woman with it, and yelled, "Tag, you're it." Then he ran off. The woman had a cut and some bruising, but she should be all right.
War of words has broken out between the U.S. Attorney William McSwain and Philadelphia DA Larry Krasner. It begins with a 29-year-old man who was serving time for a shooting with an AK-47, but according to the U.S. Attorney, not nearly enough time. Action News reporters Sarah Bloomquist and Chad Pradelli are covering both sides in this dispute. Sarah, first you. McSwain says Krasner's policies are a danger to the city.
Jim, the U.S. Attorney says there's a direct correlation between Larry Krasner becoming District Attorney of Philadelphia and an increase in violent crime. Homicides and shootings up 11% last year. McSwain said, William McSwain, that is, said Krasner's policies are irresponsible and that the federal government will now step in and start prosecuting cases. This afternoon, U.S. Attorney William McSwain lobbied a volley of criticism against Philadelphia District Attorney Larry Krasner, calling him a radical defense attorney whose policies are directly leading to an increase in violent crime across the city.
What I'm saying is the policies that his office is pursuing are a danger to Philadelphia. This is not a personal thing. This is a policy thing.
McSwain began by announcing a federal grand jury indicted 29-year-old Javon Patterson for the AK-47 shooting of West Philadelphia store owner Mike Pong in May 2018. Patterson is already serving state time for the crime after receiving what McSwain called a sweetheart plea deal from the DA, 3.5 to 10 years for the shooting that left the victim in a wheelchair. McSwain said Pong was never notified of the plea, which resulted in a sentence he finds far too light. The new federal charges will mean far more prison time for Patterson.
Mike Pong deserves justice. The new district attorney's office was not able to provide it to him. He will not have his chance to be heard in federal court.
McSwain conceded this move is highly unusual, but he said Krasner's history of plea deals, low bail, anti-law enforcement sentiment, and disregard for victims warrants his office stepping in.
We want the policies of the district attorney's office to change, to focus more on public safety, to focus more on victims, and less on being concerned about advocating for defendants.
Now, Patterson will finish up his current state sentence. If convicted in federal court, he does that sentence afterward, and that's a minimum of 10 years. McSwain promises his office will be taking over even more cases as long as Larry Krasner keeps his current policies in place. Live in Center City, I'm Sarah Bloomquist, Channel 6 Action News. Jim?
Thank you, Sarah. Let's switch live to Action News reporter Chad Pradelli outside City Hall. Chad, how did Krasner respond to these charges?
Well, he's standing his ground and he's fighting back. Listen, it's no surprise that a Republican Trump appointee for U.S. Attorney and a progressive liberal DA are having a difference in opinion. But the fact that they're going at each other in public is quite rare. While acknowledging mistakes in the handling of the Javon Patterson case, as he's done in the past, District Attorney Larry Krasner called U.S. Attorney William McSwain's press conference today unnecessary and inappropriate.
The reality is that Mr. McSwain clearly wanted a moment in the limelight, and he wanted it for political reasons that we're going to find out about later.
Krasner refuted McSwain's allegations that his progressive policies have led to a dramatic spike in homicides. He says the science doesn't back McSwain's claims, noting violent crime was down 5% in Philadelphia in 2018 and 8% so far in 2019.
And what's even less scientific is to put up a prepared board showing the levels of homicides over the last 6 years, which shows that homicides went up for 5 consecutive years, and blame the district attorney's administration that's been in 1 year.
But homicides are up, and the biggest spike is in drug-related murders, which doubled in 2018 from 60 to 120. Critics say Krasner is soft on drug-related crimes, and that has led to more turf battles in the opioid drug market and more homicides. They claim the correlation is real. When pressed, Krasner blamed the crisis on the pharmaceutical industry. As for McSwain's attack on his policies,
all of it's politics. All of it.
I mean, this could go on and on and on and on and on.
Please, sir. I want some more.
This level of black on white crime is just... it's wildly out of proportion, Tim. You know it. You're so locked into it. Into pretending it's not. Well, people out here in the real world, we can't afford to pretend. When you have kids or friends or family, you can't afford to pretend what your real life looks like. That's dangerous. So that's why we're calling you out here. That's why we're calling out all the other people in denial, deceit, and delusion, reporters and public officials. Even if that does make a few black kids angry.